Myra West is a girl who got a lot of views on YouTube, and she may have popped up in your recommended feed. She popped up in mine. She has been uploading videos since 2012, I think, and just now her channel started just blowing up for a video titled 21 years old, I have no friends. And the video basically just goes through her story of her life and how she has gotten to the point where she does not have any friends at all. Basically, she was homeschooled her entire life. She was one of 8 kids that did not get a whole lot of attention from the parents. Her life was very isolated. I can actually relate with this story quite a bit because I lived in a very similar situation of isolation, and I was homeschooled for the most part of my entire childhood. There was only 1 year that I went to school, and it was sophomore year in high school, and I did not have a lot of friends either. This video is to bring to light that there really are some people out there who don't have even acquaintances or people they know. They are very lonely and they are out there, they do exist. I 100% believe this girl does not have a single friend. And as sad as that is to say, as of right now, her video has just over 3 million views. So she is getting a lot of support on the internet, thankfully. A huge community has been created for people who are feeling lonely, and it has not come at a better time because of everything that's going on with the illness. People are starting to feel a little bit cabin feverish, so this video really did start gaining traction at a perfect time. But we're just going to go through the video, and if she by chance ever sees this video, I would like to say some words that may help her as I go through the video. So, 21 years old, I have no friends.
I'm 21 years old and I have no friends. And I'm just gonna go into why that is. Tonight, I'm extra lonely, just out and about by myself as always. And I'm just gonna make a video about why I have no friends. And I'm gonna start from the very beginning. So, once upon a time, when I was born, 21 years ago, my parents thought it was a great idea to not socialize me as a child, meaning that we were a homeschool family, and I was the second to last child, which, if anybody knows,
my life is similar to hers in the way that I was homeschooled as a child. For my parents, it was more of a they have to do it kind of a thing, whereas for her, her parents decided to homeschool her, and there's obviously nothing wrong with that, but my parents did not have much of a choice because of the location that we lived. We were in the Jemez Mountains, which was 45 minutes from the nearest gas station and 2 hours from the nearest mall, so we were pretty isolated. And the nearest school was a pueblo, and they did not accept people of my race. And then there was Los Alamos Public School, which did not take residents from the Jemez Mountains. I had no choice but to be homeschooled while I lived up there.
Anybody who knows or who's in a big family knows that parents put in less and less effort with each child, and after child number 3, it gets pretty neglectful. So the older children got socialized, they got to do things, and I grew up from age 0 to 5 with not a single friend. Not a single friend. We went to a church which had a bunch of people, but they were all old people. I remember old people. And I remember I tried to make a friend with a girl, and I was chasing her around saying, hi, hi, at 5 years old, or 4. And that didn't work out so well.
So that is very sad. It's very difficult to even understand how hard that is for somebody to try to go out and be friends at a very, very young age like that, like 5 years old. Your heart is broken when people reject you and when adults reject you. And her parents obviously were not paying much attention to her. As she said, she tried to make friends and it just wasn't happening for her. For me, from 0 to 5, I did have one friend when we lived in Mississippi, and then we moved to New Mexico, and I had zero friends. We lived in the Jemez Mountains after that, and had no friends at all from age probably 4 to 10. I think I was 10 years old when I made my first friend. So I did eventually, make a couple friends, but for me it was difficult to find anybody who was my age considering the location that we were living in. That did make things very difficult for me anyways, and I'm sure she can relate.
Oh yeah, and I remember feeling so jealous at that young age, at age 5. I remember being so jealous of my older siblings and older sister in particular, because she had friends, because she went to this group which was made for teenage girls, so she got to hang out with a bunch of teenage girls her age. And I remember every time we'd drop her off and pick her up, I felt so jealous that she got to go and I didn't, because I wanted friends and I was lonely. And I also remember this time when I was following my brothers around when their friend would come over, who was a guy, and they would exclude me completely, sometimes just telling me to leave or just completely ignoring me because I was the little sister. So that was my experience from age 0 to 5. Then we moved to Wisconsin, to a teeny tiny town, and from 5 to 12, I also didn't have any friends. They really didn't think it was important to socialize me with anybody. We did go to church, and I was pretty shy, and again, there wasn't really anybody my age, because I don't know if people know this, but first of all, when you're young, like from age 5 to 12, you're kind of in this awkward age group where the teenagers are cool, and like the teenagers won't be friends with you because they're teenagers. And it seemed like there was only teenagers at that church, teenagers and older people, and they just ignored me. Like nobody talked to me. And then I lost my train of thought, but basically from 0 to 12, zero socialization. As a homeschool family, we didn't do anything. I mean, what is there? Where would a family go to make friends? Nowhere.
So what she's saying there is very accurate, actually. Being homeschooled, it is very difficult to find any sort of groups that are normal that you can make friends in. We did go to a few homeschool groups in New Mexico, and I was able to meet a few people, and I did meet one friend that I had for a little bit. But like I said, the remote area that we were living in, it made it almost impossible for me to spend the night at his house or do normal kid things and like play video games at his house or whatever. I just saw him at the group, and that was it. So I saw him maybe like once a month. Definitely a darker period in my life.
Grew up extremely alone and just far away from all civilization, and obviously that probably didn't help my social skills. And then after age 12, I got put in public school, which was good. And this is kind of where it gets tricky. I don't know why I didn't make friends. I mean, every day in high school, I had friends. I had pretty good friends. Like, I would call them friends. I would never call them close friends, but I hung around with a group of girls, and the best thing about high school was that there was no drama for me, none at all. I wasn't included in any drama, and it seemed like it was because everybody, every single person, including my friends, kept a distance from me.
What she said was very important. Homeschooled kids are looked at in a very different light than normal kids. And you can spot a homeschool kid miles away, and it is because they do not have social skills. And social skills are the most important thing in becoming friends with somebody. When she says she doesn't know why people kept their distance, I mean, I wish I could just tell her that all homeschool kids who don't have the social skills that public school kids have are automatically put in a different category. And kids are mean and they want to stay away from people who are different. And one big thing that I think is driving factor for kids wanting to avoid those lonely kids is because when you see somebody who is sad, a stranger who is sad, you almost instinctively want to avoid talking to them because you will start to feel sad when you talk to them. For lonely kids, it's the exact same thing. If you see a lonely kid by himself and you're a kid, you just instinctively think, if I talk to that kid, I'm going to catch the loneliness. Like, I really don't want to experience that, so I'm going to keep my distance from that kid. So
I really don't. I don't know what is with me that people kept a distance. I remember one girl really hated me for a couple years, but for the last couple years of high school we were great. But at one point she really made it seem like I was super stuck up, and she just thought that I was proud and stuck up, which I won't defend myself, but I don't think I am. And I think it was because I'm shy, and so sometimes people misinterpret shyness and quietness for being judgmental. So when somebody's really quiet, you assume they're being judgmental of you. And actually, I know that firsthand because there was a girl in high school who was super quiet around me, and I really thought she was judging me hardcore. And I have no idea if she was or not to this day.
okay, so what she just said there is that she had a crippling fear of kids judging her. And when she wanted to make a new friend, she was scared that they are secretly judging her. The one thing that I wish I could tell my younger self when I was a little kid is that you are overthinking it way too much. These people might judge you, and if they are, who cares? There's other people who aren't going to do that, and that just was not even a thought for me. For me, it was just fear. I was just scared that everybody I talked to was, had some ulterior motive, or that they were secretly critiquing every little aspect of me. Since I didn't get so much socialization, that's just how I felt, is that people were over analyzing me, and it really freaked me out. It made me feel like I was under a microscope, and that is not a good feeling, especially when you're trying to make new friends and you don't have any. That is the difficult position that a lot of homeschool kids get thrown into. If you are a parent to one of these kids, just please pay attention to what they are saying and their needs, and try to, if they feel extra lonely and they feel like people are overanalyzing them, just talk to them. Tell them people really don't care as much as you think they do. That's what I just wish I could have told my younger self.
She might have been, but I absolutely believe she was judging me. But anyway, I don't know what it was about high school. I don't know if I didn't have social skills or what, but like, here's how it was in high school. I was like I felt like I was friends and on good terms with everybody. Like everybody was my friend, everybody would talk to me, there was no drama, nothing bad happened, but at the same time no one was close to me. I don't know if it was me. I don't know if I didn't let anybody close to me. I think at the time, I mean, obviously pretty much every high schooler will say this, but it was a very like depressed and dark period of life, high school, where everybody's like depressed, but I was especially depressed, and maybe I just wasn't letting anybody in, and I don't know it. Another thing was I always felt like I was in too much pain or I was too complicated for anybody to really understand, so I probably didn't try that hard because I don't know, I always felt like I was going through more and had harder problems than other people, which I know that probably sounds horrible, but I think almost everybody can feel that way.
One way that I felt like everybody was in on something that I wasn't in on, if that makes sense. Like they were all part of this. I mean, I felt like such an outcast. There was stuff secretly going on where people were talking about me and I didn't know about it. And I would just go through those kinds of scenarios in my head all the time. I really did feel kind of like an alien. And I'm sure that I presented that to people whenever I tried to meet them, as I just basically presented them with what was going on in my head, which was that I was completely different than they are. And I think that is a huge reason why I lacked quite a few social skills, is because I was just in my head too much.
But yeah, another thing was I didn't feel like I connected with anybody. Since it was such a small school, I only had 20 classmates, and I think that was also a part of it, because how are you expected to find like a great friend out of 20 people? I honestly don't think too many people did find good friends, in that tiny school. After high school, I graduated, and obviously, but I won homecoming queen, so I wasn't unpopular. I'm just saying like that as an example, as a proof that I wasn't hated in high school. Everybody liked me, but somehow I just didn't make any friends. I was homecoming queen. But anyway, I didn't make any friends that lasted, and I really wanted to, but maybe not with anybody at that school. I think it was just because I didn't feel like I connected with anybody, and maybe they sensed that as well. But anyway, I graduated, none of my friends stuck with me. I actually didn't see anybody after high school, except for one person. And I have reached out to a couple classmates, and they all said that they have lost track with each other too. So everybody has lost track of each other, which I guess I guess it happens.
I think a lot of people actually have not talked to their friends from high school. There's obviously a few people who are high school for life, and they just have that group, that clique, that they're gonna grow up till they're 90. But that's so rare. For the average kid, I feel like probably not gonna ever see some of these high school kids ever again once they graduate. So
when people graduate high school. But anyway, I didn't go to college because I was terrified to, and I felt inadequate, and I felt like I couldn't do it, and I was stupid, and I would never pass, and I felt really intimidated, and I was terrified of college students, and I was terrified of the process, and I was terrified of the money and the debt. So I didn't go to college. So obviously I haven't made any college friends. And then it's like, well, how do you make friends then? You've got only option to make friends as coworkers and going to some kind of class or group or something, and church. So during this time after graduating, I've tried everything. I've gone to church. I've tried to go to church and find people to be friends with. I've joined meetup, and I've done a couple meetups, and I've reached out to people to try to go to coffee. And my work friends, I never really made friends at my last job. Not really at any job. It's the same thing. I don't know what it is with me. I truly don't. I must be completely blind to myself, but I have no idea why people don't want to be friends with me. Like, even people that I do very much like. When I find somebody that I do very much like and I want to be friends with, and I reach out to them and I'm trying my best and I'm being friendly and inquisitive and asking about them and like really trying, like putting an effort to be friends, it doesn't happen. When I find somebody that I think is super cool, which is pretty rare, but it's like they're too cool for me. I don't know. I mean, honestly, if anybody knows, I'd love to know why people aren't friends with me. Like recently, I went to a meetup and I met a girl that I loved. I just loved her. I thought she was super cool. And I wanted to be friends, but it's like you meet her, you talk for hours the day, and then nothing happens. Nobody reaches out to anybody. I'm too afraid to. And it happened.
You have to put yourself out there, and I know that's what everybody says, and it obviously doesn't work a majority of the time. People don't like being approached, and it is terrifying to do that, but you just kind of have to put yourself into situations where something like that may happen, like maybe going to a party, or going to an event, like a public event. You just happen to be standing next to somebody and you exchange words, and that could be how your friendship starts. But you just have to have that initial bravery to do that. It's difficult. Like, even me, I don't have hardly any friends at all. I have my wife and a few people I talk to.
My friends.
Basically, her friends.
You had me and my friends.
What?
You had me and my friends.
I have my wife and my wife's friends. I don't have a guy who is my age that I talk to. I don't go to the bar and just have a great time with dudes my age. That just doesn't happen. I talk to my wife and her friends, and that's about it. And I'm content with that. I don't need to find the perfect friend that you see in all the movies. I need people who are going to be there for me. And if I even sense that they are not looking after me, if I have a problem, uh, I'm out. I'm gone. That's it. Friendship over. And I've done that to a lot of people. I'm picky like that. I don't want to get hurt. I realize that there are some people who just want to take advantage of you, and that's the definition of their entire friendship. I've watched it happen with some of the girls that I've dated. I've seen them get taken advantage of by their best friends, and it's dark and it's sad, and that's caused me to be a little bit more cautious. But my advice to her is that she does need to just find some sort of way that she can create like an opportunity where talking will happen. And you can talk with anybody. You can talk with a 75-year-old man. You can talk with a 45-year-old girl, lady. Age doesn't matter when it comes to friendship. I've learned a lot of how to socialize talking to people who were nowhere near my age. When I was a lot younger, I would talk to a lot of the older people who were in my church. I would talk to people who were in their 40s. That's how I got some of the social skills that I have now. I wasn't just trying to become friends with kids. There were no little kids, so I talked to adults.
Again on a different meetup where I went to coffee with a lady and I talked to her for hours, like many, many hours. The conversation just flowed and nothing came of that either. Nobody has reached out to anybody, and I'm too scared to because she's too cool. I don't know. But anyway,
She thinks that she's not cool enough to be friends with some of these people. You have to just view yourself on the same playing field as everybody else, or you're gonna mess your everything. I mean, you're not gonna have a chance at making friends with somebody if you think that they are somehow better than you are or cooler than you are.
I don't know. But anyway, the moral, or what it all comes down to, is that I'm 21 years old and I have no friends. No friends at all. And might I add that my relationship with my family is non existent. So I have no support system, no friends, nobody to turn to, nobody to hang around with, nobody to do fun stuff with, nobody to vent to, nobody to count on. Nobody's there for me. I've always been alone. My entire life, my entire existence, I've been alone. And it bothers me so deeply because all I ever have wanted is people in my life and friendships in my life and good connection and close people. And I don't know why it doesn't happen.
This is very, very real, and she is telling the truth here. She doesn't have friends. And there are a lot of kids out there who don't have friends either. It's just how it is. Whenever you get put into that spot, it is almost impossible to get out of it. And I feel very sad for her. If you are homeschooling your kid, which a lot of people are doing that right now, or if you're thinking about homeschooling your kid, I just would like to say to the parents that it is very important that you talk to your kids and communicate with them about how they are feeling and if they are feeling alone. If they are, you need to find some way to give them a social life somehow. And I know it's very, very difficult to do that right now with everything that's going on right now. Even parents aren't able to hang out with their friends. Try to get creative and find a way and understand that this is not some downplayed thing they are complaining about. Loneliness is a disease and it needs to be taken care of and pulled out by the root as quick as possible. For me, I was able to get out of it just by putting myself out there. Instead of thinking that everyone was judging me, I tried to just put myself out there, and if people like it, then they like me. If they don't like me, then, okay. That's how I started making friends, is once I developed that mental attitude of I don't care if they're judging me. I don't care. When you stop caring, when you genuinely stop caring, that is when you are able to make some serious progress. It's the same way with starting a business. It's like, I don't care that 99% of businesses don't take off. I'm going to go out and start my business anyways. You just have to have that mental attitude to succeed, or else you will fail and you will end up alone. Um, that's my advice for her. That's my advice to parents. My advice to kids is that I understand that what you are going through is serious. I was in the exact same boat you were in, and I wish that things had gone differently. And I really wish I could have just told my younger self, not to care as much. And that's what I would say to you kids, is I would just say, just stop caring what other people think. Just be yourself. And that's so corny and just overused all the time. I know there is a lot of truth behind it. If you just stop thinking that people are judging you, if you stop thinking that people are analyzing you, just stop all that and just go for it. The worst that could happen is you don't make a friend, but you make five others. But it's hard to see that when you're, sitting at home alone. It's hard to see that happening, but it will happen. And for the parents who live in more isolated areas like I lived in, you have to get your kid online and have him socialize online. You can't just, if you made the decision to live in an isolated place that's 2 hours away from anything, you owe it to your kid to give them a social life. You cannot just say, you're not old enough for this. You're not old enough for video games. You're not old enough to socialize with people on the internet. I understand there's creepy people on the internet, but you cannot rob away their social life just because you chose to live in the middle of nowhere. The highlight of my day in the Jemez when I lived in the mountains was that I was able to get online and chat with people around the world in a video game. That was the highlight of my day. And I know there's kids who aren't allowed to do that, and it frustrates me when I see that. It's understandable that you want to be overprotective, but you're damaging your kid when you do that. And you have to play a balance game. But let them play an online video game. Something like that. Just, understand that they have to have social lives.
I don't know. And it's pretty hopeless. It's pretty depressing because I'm so sick of going around and living my life completely alone. Anyway, that's it.
That was pretty much the whole video. She goes on to say that there's no happy ending. I love how she did that because it's so old school YouTube, where it's not pre planned and it's not like a huge Disney production. It's raw and it is emotional. And I love that about this video. It's very thought provoking, and in real life, there's no happy ending. All we can do is learn from our mistakes and move on. You don't have to make friends the traditional way anymore. Things are different. I definitely credit my childhood social life to online gaming because that was literally my only way to meet somebody new. I did not have any kind of, information about my name or where I live or anything like that, but I was able to talk to them. They just knew me by my game name, and that's it. There wasn't much danger there. The way I would like to end this video is by saying this is all real, and what she is talking about in this video is 100% true. She feels that way because that is what is happening to her. And everything that I've mentioned along through the video is meant to be used as advice for anybody who is struggling with loneliness. It is something that I can relate with because I've lived it, and I know it's real because I lived it. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.